Hello, beautiful soul. Welcome to another pick a card reading. In today's reading, we are going to get a reminder of your strengths. And I'm doing this very deliberately. And in order to explain why, I'm going to go into the current astrology for a moment. However, this is a timeless reading, so if you happen to stumble upon this at a later point in time, know that this energy was still brewing within you and you are finding it at a different time for a reason, okay? But currently, we have the Sun in Leo, we have Venus retrograde in Leo, and the Sun and Venus retrograde actually just formed a Cazimi about a day ago. And we now have the moon in Leo approaching a new moon on the 16th. Today is the 14th as I'm filming this. There is so much energy that is asking you to show up as your most authentic self, to reconsider, how do I show up? How do I present myself? What do I honor and value about myself? And so as this is happening, we also have Mercury in Virgo and we have Mars in Virgo. We're being very analytical, we're being very strategic, we're being very hard on ourselves. And so I want to take a moment to remind you of your strengths so that as you go through this energy, as you move through this energy, you harness it to the best of your abilities so that you are fully aware of what am I capable of. This is kind of like taking a look at your strengths in like a resume form, just that it applies to life. And there are so many life skills that don't have space on like a work resume, right? So I just want to take a look at what is Spirit telling you to keep charging forward on. Like, what are they saying? Hey, you're doing a good job with this. Keep that in mind as you are approaching this new self-expression. Okay, so we're getting reminders of your strength. For that, I have prepared 3 groups with a picture postcard and a crystal. Now, let's start off. Group 1, this is your picture. Beautiful fountain. It's very glossy, but you get the idea. Let me get you close up. Wow, gorgeous, 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 gorgeous. Okay, that is for group 1. This is your crystal. All of these crystals are just calcite, they're beautiful calcite. This is kind of like a very faint pink. It's white, but there's like a dash of pink in there. And then group 2, this is your photo postcard. Let me get you close up. Beautiful blooming trees and clear sky. This is your photo postcard, and your crystal is an orange calcite that looks like a delicious orange slice. That is group 2. And group 3, and this is your photo postcard. Let's start at the top, get you some details. Look at that. Beautiful sidewalk. That is your photo postcard, group 3, and your crystal is an aqua calcite. This is actually, let me show you, come on, there we go. This is actually one of my favorites because it kind of looks just like a slice of a beautiful clear ocean. Like, this is the bottom and there's foam at the top. It just looks like somebody cut a piece of the ocean in very clear waters. All right, that is group 3. So again, we are taking a look today at your strengths. We are reminding you of your strengths, of your powers. I'm going to give you a moment to zone in or zone out, whichever you need, so you can choose the correct pile for you, whichever calls you the most is meant for you. If you're feeling called to multiple piles, you have multiple powers, baby. So watch whatever is calling you. I am going to have the timestamps in the description below as always, and I will meet you at your reading. Hi Group 1, this is your reading. If you chose this picture of the lovely fountain, we're going to set this right off to the side, and we're going to put your crystal up here. Actually, before I set this aside, I do want to tell you that for Group 1, I'm immediately picking up that you have incredible artistic talents. That is definitely coming through. If you felt called to this photograph, you have incredible artistic expression. Just the idea of such a beautifully constructed fountain that spouts out water, which is an emotional carrier. That just indicates that there's a lot of creativity that pours out of you. Okay, we're gonna set this off to the side so you can still see it a little bit. But let's get into it. So, Group 1, we are getting a reminder of your strengths. What do you need to be reminded of for Group 1? We're just jumping right into it. Let's talk about the strengths of everyone called to watch Group 1. We have Temperance. Look at it! I love how that is, how that immediately connects to the photograph. That is beautiful. And this also shows me that you have the ability to work in multiple spheres. Like you are able to combine emotional with constructive, exactly like this photograph. You are tapped into grounding and you are tapped into emotions, and the two together are a force. You're also able to heal through either your work or just through your energy. You are a seeker. We have the Hermit. And we have the Five of Wands. Oh, you are able to find healing within conflict. You're definitely a type of mediator. You might be a middle child, to be honest, because it seems like you don't seek out conflict, but you're very, not comfortable, but familiar with it. You're very familiar with it. That was hesitant. Do we want that? Yes or no? Okay. We have the Death card, and the Nine of Pentacles wanted to come out, so I will take it as like the cherry on top here instead of checking out the bottom of the deck. Okay, so the Temperance card, the Hermit card, the Five of Wands, the Death card, and the Nine of Pentacles. You are able to overcome conflict and obstacles through the way that you are able to thrive in different environments and different spaces. You're very adaptable, and you're probably adaptable because you had to adapt. We're going to get another row that kind of gives us the roots of these strengths, but these are your strengths. And there is really, I kind of like how I'm being drawn to this photograph again, and the female figure that is like at the top of this feels very much connected to this, because the strength that you carry is supposed to be something that lets you shine. It's supposed to be something that is highlighted as, because there are people that have strengths that are more so a supportive role. You are supposed to shine in your role. And my dear group ones, I am going to have to turn on my AC, so I apologize for the noise in the background, but it is incredibly hot here, and I was gonna see how far I can go, but when I do readings, I get my energy like I need some cool air. Okay. But also that might have to do with your energy. Who knows? It could be that you emit heat. But in any case, I feel that part of your strength is that you are always able to return to yourself. You are not easily swayed by the opinions and judgments of others. I did take a peek and judgment was at the bottom of the deck. You're not easily swayed by other people's opinions or their status even, because your status or your idea of what status is does not compare to what most people recognize as status. You're very true to yourself in that regard, and Spirit is very proud of that. I also like that you are not shy of conflict. Again, it's not so much that you're comfortable with it, but you're familiar with it. And so you understand the necessity of conflict in order for things to change with this death card here. You understand the necessity of conflict and of having to voice differing opinions. And I think because you were so familiar with the experience of conflict, you had to become very stable within your own person and within your own values so that you could manage to stay stable within unstable surroundings and situations. This death card also indicates to me that you are not afraid of releasing parts of yourself that don't serve you anymore. You're not the kind of person that will hold on to a certain opinion just because you are prideful. You are willing to grow, and you're willing to release in the name of, this is almost like, this whole energy is giving me very much like scientific energy. Like, I will change my beliefs if it can be proven to me. And that's not to say that you are a very scientific person, but that's how you go about when it comes to any kind of someone changing your mind. You don't just let people change your mind. You engage with the subject, and then you let the proof or the evidence speak for itself and let that change your mind. And that is really important, because nowadays there's so much brainwashing and propaganda happening that this is a very important skill to have, to be able to engage with differing opinions in a level-headed way. That is awesome. Okay, let's get some more cards. Let's go deeper. Tell me about this Temperance card. We have the Page of Wands. And so for me, this is kind of like the, look at that, I love this. This bottom row is kind of like the roots of the strengths, right? Because strengths are not just handed to us. It's not just something that we are, yeah, we have some natural proclivities to certain things, but in a lot of situations, strengths are learned. Like the way that you go to the gym, you build muscle through resistance, right? And so this bottom row is kind of telling me more about the resistance aspect that you have overcome. We have the Hanged Man. Yeah, this came through difficult internal evolution for you. So the Page of Wands indicates to me that you now have this ability to feel comfortable in different kinds of situations, or to become comfortable. And also, I just want to highlight that if what I've said so far sounds nice, but you're like, oh, I don't think I'm quite there yet, then this bottom row is kind of talking about how we can transmute your situation to get to that point, because the strength is there, right? You just need to tap into it. Okay, so this Page of Wands indicates that you arrive at this ability to be comfortable in different arenas because of a natural curiosity and a natural desire to want to try things out and to want to explore. Now, I also want to point out, just because of the way that it's coming up right now for me, I'm channeling that for some of you that might have to do with your gender expression, like exploring certain expressions of self, like clothing that you wear or hairstyles, allows you to really tap into your masculine and feminine energy in a way that you understand it from a very centered and grounded position that allows you to kind of explore those energies in a very fluid way, and that's very beautiful. Now, with this Nine of Wands underneath the Hermit card, the reason that you always come back to your own opinion, to your own counsel, is because in the past people have confused you a lot, and people have tried to push you into certain beliefs. They have tried to make you conform, and it just felt so unnatural that you were just you completely did the opposite of what they wanted you to do, which was to go inward a lot. And so in situations where, let's say school, growing up, in situations where that was not really, there wasn't really an escape, that would have looked like you being an introvert. That would have looked like you really kind of pulling away and not wanting to engage in social situations because you felt safer in solitude. And yet it made you a very observant person, and it made you understand how groups of people move, and that's why you're very familiar with that conflict, right? But with this Eight of Wands, you have a strong desire to make things make sense. So again, you don't shy away from observing or even stepping into conflict, because you're like, I know that we can bring order into this. And that is so cool. It is really brave, to be honest. So you have a lot of bravado is what's coming through. Now, with this Hierophant and the Death card, you are not afraid to let your beliefs differ from the mainstream. You are not going to submit or subscribe to some kind of belief just because other people are telling you to. And that is what makes you shine. That is what makes you stand out from the crowd, because you understand that if you just subscribe to someone else's belief system, you're at the bottom of the pyramid. But if you stand by your own values, you are your own pyramid completely. I hope that makes sense. I love this. You are I want to say free thinker, but honestly that doesn't even feel like adequate. You are I think you are an individualist, in the way that I'm not trying to say like, oh, you're such an individual. We're all individuals, but not everyone is comfortable being an individualist. There are a lot of people that are more comfortable in some kind of uniformity, and I think you are able to adhere to uniformity in some sense, but when it doesn't suit you, when it doesn't support you, you're also very comfortable kind of pulling back from it. And that is beautiful. So don't let that go. Don't release that skill. Like, don't ever water that down, because it helps you stand out, and it helps you really it helps you provide a light for others as well. Like, even in just living your life, you are an inspiration. And again, I'm being called to talk about gender in some way. So this could have to do with your gender expression, and it doesn't have to be something that you are actively like committing to or not committing to. It can literally just be the choices that you make on a daily basis are far enough from the norm that someone else seeing that is really kind of inspired in some way. You're very inspiring. You're very inspiring. I love this. Oh my God. I didn't know I was going to get so into this. Okay, I'm going to pull you, not you making me blush. I'm going to pull you some archetype cards. We're focusing on your strengths, so I'm just trying to decide if I want to pull some cards on what to release as well. Yeah, but I want to focus more on the strengths. So give me 2 cards, 2 aspects of strengths for group 1. 2 aspects of strengths. Strength. What are 2 of group 1's powers? Engineer. See, there is that calculated aspect that I was talking about, that structural aspect. Engineer is also like you see patterns. One more power of group 1. We got this one right here. We have exorcist, and then I want to get one on something that group 1 should release in order to embrace their powers more. Look at that. We have guide. Okay, see, this is what I'm picking up on. The energy of guide is something that you need to release because you don't have to focus on guiding people. You do that naturally. It's a byproduct of you being yourself, being true to yourself. You create. So first of all, I want to say that the energy that you need to release being guide means that you don't have to position yourself as a guide, but it also means that you do not have to seek out a guide. You don't need external guidance. You understand how to take external stimuli and then go internal for guidance. And that is super important. I'm telling you, not a lot of people can do that. But the powers that you do have, being engineer and exorcist, this is why you're supposed to rely on your own guidance, because you have such a keen eye for toxic situations and behaviors, and you're able to, some of your powers are able to kind of, like you see it and you extract it. You are able to extract it because you have such an exact eye. This is almost like being a surgeon. You're able to extract something with exact precision without causing too much damage to the tissue around it, which the tissue around it would be like the social construct of it. This is an amazing reading. I really hope it makes sense and it's not too abstract. But with engineer, let me tell you what it says. Ability to give creative energy a practical expression. Talent for designing resolutions to common dilemmas. Yes. Exorcist, again, this is another one of your powers. Freeing yourself and others of destructive impulses. Beautiful. Okay, and I'll tell you what guide says, even though I'm reading this differently because I'm saying this is what we're releasing. Represents the nature of the divine in life and in yourself, and the shadow attribute says places financial gain and control over imparting spiritual insight. The way that I explained it makes more sense. It's just a matter of how I'm using the cards. Okay, now what are we doing next? Sorry for that. Okay, we're gonna get one of these. You're incredible. And don't you forget it. And again, I want to point out, because I was just looking at this Hierophant card, you may have, when you were younger, you may have put all of your hopes and all of your faith in something that as you grew older really let you down. And that forced you into having to create your own safety net because something really let you down. And then you were kind of like, well, I'm not I'm not buying into anything like that again. You're very self-reliant when it comes to faith. Give me one card for group 1. Well, I said 1, but they gave me 2. I respect the property of others and I am peaceful. And I keep the waters pure. Look at, I want to point out this card again. Look at the vision, okay? Look at it. I keep the waters pure. Do you see what I'm seeing? Please tell me you're seeing what I'm seeing. That is beautiful. But I do want to talk about these other cards that came out. There we go. I am peaceful and I respect the property of others. So these cards are more so a guiding light from Spirit to be like, you are awesome, you have these powers, but watch out for this. Because you are very familiar with conflict, I think it is important to recognize when you are overstepping when it comes to conflict. When you are, because there are things that are very easy for you to extract. However, there are things that people believe in and their entire identity is rooted in that belief. And in comes you and you're like, no, because this, and this, and this. And it makes sense. And that's again where this card of guide is coming in, where it's like you're not supposed to center yourself as a guide. You're just supposed to live by example and focus on you and your inner light. Because if you try to step in as a guide and if you try to tell people, no, you need to do it this way and that way, or no, that doesn't make any sense, or no, the thing that you have built your whole identity around doesn't even make sense and it's stupid, that can cause a lot of harm. Even when you are technically right, even when you are right, the idea is still more so that you need to live by example and not tell other people how to live. So I am peaceful means that you just lead by example. I respect the property of others. Very much the property is not just physical property, but also intellectual property. That is something to consider, but also the things that we hold on to for dear life because they give us some kind of sanctity, some kind of hope. There are things that people hold on to even if they don't make sense, and that is something that we have to respect because, you know, those people have rooted themselves in that for a reason. And you coming in and trying to, especially with this exorcist energy, trying to uproot that because you're like, those roots are rotten, that doesn't change the fact that those people are very connected to it, and so that can cause more harm than good. So that's just something to be aware of, okay? Now, let's get you some from this deck. Let's get some oracle cards. Any last advice or insight? Secret, yep. Yep. This is, once again, connecting to the fact that, and look at cave, which is very much like the hermit energy because it's about internal. This secret is very much, this card always makes me think of like having the secret sauce. It's very much connected to the fact that you don't have to announce yourself. You don't have to proclaim things. You just show up and people recognize something as different. You show up in this cloud of different energy. And so you don't have to be in people's faces and be like, no, this is what I believe in because what you believe in doesn't make any sense. So it's very much about being more so with your energy, just more so disseminating is the word that's coming true. Your energy disseminates, and so you might not always see the changes that you create in people, but your energy does ripple out for sure. We have that with the Exorcist card. We have that with the Death card. Your energy ripples out. And so you just need to stay assured in your energy. And even if you cannot see the ripples that you create that turn into waves, your energy ripples out. And it's stealthy. It's very stealthy. Okay, now we're going to get one last oracle card, and this one we are going to read from Le Booklet. One last card for group 1. You're like stealthy change makers. I love it. And it comes from a place of true curiosity and true commitment to what even makes sense. It's not just like lofty ideals. We have listen, okay? Beautiful. I'm going to read this to you. That is the number 6. Mindfulness, sensitivity, and empathy. You are a very empathetic person, but I think you've also been pushed into situations where it's like the empathy was overwhelming, so you had to push back. Let's focus. There we go. So this card says, this young woman with closed eyes and a knowing smile is rooted in the earth. Her hair has transformed into the roots of the plants above her. We were talking about roots earlier. You can tell the woman is aware of her surroundings. We were talking about that too. She is connected to the voice of nature. She can listen to the growing plants beneath the ground. She is an integral part of her world. She understands the sorrows and worries of the environment. She also knows the songs of nature's pleasures. This again, do you see the way this is kind of connecting here? How it's almost like this like green cloud is like coming out of her by her just observing and just being. You don't have to actively fight the good fight to incite change. You're a very positive force because you are so rooted in yourself that it inspires other people to look at their own roots and what are my roots gaining from? Like, what are my roots? Where are my roots gaining nutrition from? And you are very well aware of the things around you that are very rooted in you. And that's a beautiful way to be. Honestly, it's very inspiring. All right, I'm gonna leave it there. Group 1, you are a force without aggression. You are a force without aggression. You are very inspiring. I love this, and I'm so happy that we have people like this and that you are part of my collective. And you might not ever see the full effect that your self-assurance has, but trust me, it is so necessary and it is so appreciated. Okay? I'm gonna leave it there. Thank you, group 1. If you would like to book a personal reading, you can do so only on my website. The link is in the description. I never reach out or send you DMs to ask for money or readings. Please don't get scammed. All right, I'm going to leave it there. I hope I get to read for you again sometime. Until then, take care. Hi, group 2, this is your reading if you chose. I had to decide which one to pick up first. If you chose this photograph, postcard with this orange calcite. We're going to set these right up here and we're going to get right into your reading. So we are taking a look at your strengths, getting some reminders around your strengths and your powers. Now the way this is going to work is I'm going to pull 2 rows. The top row is basically the blossom of your strength, and the bottom row is kind of the roots, meaning where it came from, so we can get some context around that. All right, so group 2, let's talk about the strengths and powers of group 2. We have the King of Swords. Wow, you're a smarty pants. Sorry. I love that. Very decisive. Very intelligent, very, and I don't want to hear objections. When I'm calling you intelligent, you do not object. Intelligence comes in many forms, okay? Somebody had to hear that. I could feel it. Somebody was like, not so much. Intelligence comes in many forms. Academia, see, I can't even say it. Academia is not the only source of intelligence. Let me just say that. And then we have the Queen of Wands. Oh, you get really fiery. You're the kind of person that gets really into probably researching things, falling down rabbit holes, perhaps even a conspiracy theory or two, because they can be quite scrumdiddlyumptious, you know, when things start connecting and making sense, it's like, oh, but it doesn't have to mean that you're into like every conspiracy theory, absolutely not, but you definitely like to connect dots, and it feels like a game to you in some ways. It's like, you also don't, and see, that's why I felt like the need to say, like, intelligence comes in many forms, because I don't think that you necessarily see yourself as intelligent. You might call yourself clever, or you might call yourself smart, but you wouldn't call yourself intelligent. With this Queen of Wands, this almost has like a street smarts kind of energy. Lived experience is also a source of intelligence. And so there's something here where it's like you're humble when it comes to your intelligence. You're very, look at it, you have so much experience. You're very worldly in a sense. Even if you haven't gotten to travel the world a lot, you're very curious about different parts. You're very curious about different cultures, or just the way things work differently. And it doesn't have to be like on a global scale. It could just be that you find it fascinating to think about how people are raised in different households and how that affects people. I think you have a lot of psychological analysis in you. Like, you just pay attention to how people, probably from a young age, you noticed like playmates acting or responding to certain things differently, and you were paying attention to the dynamics of their family compared to the dynamics of your own family. Like, there's just something where you compared things a lot out of a place of curiosity. Okay, one more, there we go, the Nine of Wands. And then at the bottom of the deck we have the Knight of Wands. You definitely give me the energy of having to fend for yourself, and having to withstand with this Nine of Wands. I think you've probably, for some of you, this World card actually plays out in a way where you had to move a lot, and you may have been in situations where you had to move a lot, or you may have been in situations where you choose to move a lot, and you really thrive on experiences. And being in a position where you physically had to move, it caused this environment where you were always somewhat an outsider. You were always new somewhere. And yet you thrive off of that. It's very interesting. And I think you thrive off of that because you see your own strengths in the ability to adapt. And yet I don't think you recognize your strength in the ability to understand. Like, you think like, oh yeah, I can figure places out, or I can figure people out. And I'm like, yeah, that's your power. You're figuring them out. And I think you just kind of diminish some of your intelligence at times. Tell me about this King of Swords. We have the Hermit card. You have to teach yourself a lot. You have to rely on your own patience to learn things. It may have been that when you were in school that you know, the school system is not for everyone. And it may have been that you had to find your own ways to truly learn. Sitting behind a desk and opening a book is not conducive to growth for everyone. Tell me about this Queen of Wands. The Moon. Yeah, you get a lot of intuitive knowledge. You get a lot of intuitive direction is what I'm getting. So intuitively, like you'll have choices in your life that you look back on and you're like, I don't know why I chose to do that, but it led me to, and on and on and on. Like people will be like, now what are they doing? Now they're in a van across the country. What are they doing? Who knows? And if it's not that extreme, like if it's not, doesn't have to do with like physical movement, it's still through experience. So you were drawn to certain experiences, even if you never say, let's say if you never left your hometown, you were still drawn to perhaps different jobs or different positions. Like you might be the kind of person that enters a company and you end up doing every position because you're just like, okay, I'm done here. I figured that one out. Hop into the next. Tell me about the World card. Once you're done with something, that card fell to the floor. You get bored. Yeah, look at that. Wheel of Fortune underneath the World card. Are you kidding me? That is so powerful. That is so powerful and so fated and so unavoidable. An unavoidable force. You are an unavoidable force. Tell me about this Nine of Wands. We have the Four of Wands. You thrive in opposition a little bit. Like it makes you, I think it makes you feel alive. Look, we have the Page of Cups. You're not afraid of new experiences at all. Yeah, a little opposition makes you feel alive. A little bit of, it's kind of like the endorphins that people get from working out, you know, from running, that runner's high. That's what I'm getting here, of like taking yourself to a certain extreme, taking yourself to the edge of what you believe you're capable of doing. It really kind of makes you feel so alive, and it makes you feel really proud. Now, one thing I do want to point out, this is your strength, okay? But one thing I do want to point out right now is that I feel like you struggle with being proud of yourself wherever you are at the moment. Like you strive, you're constantly striving. And it's like, it comes from a place of constantly not being satisfied with yourself. And so I just would like to challenge you to kind of, try and find some comfort in your present. But some of your strengths are that you are a survivor. You are a survivor and you are a fighter. You do not go down. The imagery that I just saw of like you do not go down, especially because this looks kind of like you know, conflict, is I saw this person that pretends to go down just to like avoid impact of some sort, but then you come back up. So when you do go down, it's calculated in some way. Please don't. I don't know. The words just felt like it could go in different directions. You have so much internal wisdom. I feel like you don't give yourself enough credit for that. You have so much like innate knowledge and very feminine knowledge too. I'm getting a lot of feminine energy from this reading in general. I mean, we have a lot of women here, but still there's a lot of feminine energy. And that is to say that whether you are, no matter what your gender expression is, we all have masculine and feminine energy within us, right? And it seems that you put a lot of trust in your feminine energy, which means that you are able to go out and receive. You're very open to experiences. You're not controlling. You step into an environment and then you kind of soak it up and see what you can gain from it. And that is incredible. That is incredible because it shows that you are not necessarily, like, I don't feel like you're a control freak. If something doesn't work out wherever you're at, you just move away from it. Whether that is physically or mentally. You're just like, I'll go somewhere else. Which connects with this Page of Cups very well because it's kind of like a little bit of an escapist energy. But it just shows like how incredibly adaptable you are and how incredibly you also, especially with this orange calcite, you have an incredible confidence. You have an incredible confidence when it comes to your skills. However, again, I don't feel like you have an incredible confidence that translates to your intelligence. And I want you to recognize that those go hand in hand. You could not have the skills that you have without the intelligence that you have. I think you downplay yourself a lot, even though you're very confident, which is very charming, right? Somebody that's confident but kind of downplays their own facilities, it's very charming, it's very alluring. And that charming and alluring energy also draws in a lot of energy, and it might not always be the kind that you want, but you kind of, I get the sense that you are able to get what you want out of people, not necessarily in like a negative way. It's just that you understand how people operate and you know how to leverage that understanding. I'm telling you, you are so, the word street smart just keeps coming up, but I feel like people can misunderstand that word. You know what's coming through though with that word? In Oliver and Company, there's that one song, yeah, it's performed by Billy Joel, but it is the dog that sings "Why Should I Worry?" Why should I worry? Why should I care? I got street smart. That's the energy that's coming through, like this very suave energy. And I know that dog is suave, okay? That dog. If you don't know what I'm talking about, look up "Why Should I Worry" from Oliver and Company, because that is a bop, first of all, but that kind of energy of like, why should I worry? I'll just go on to the next thing. I'll figure it out. That is incredible. And I'm actually very, I wish I had more of that. I do have some of that, but maybe I'm not giving myself enough credit either. But this Wheel of Fortune is very much this understanding of, you know what? It's not, you don't take it personal when things don't work out for you. You don't take it personal. And if you are struggling with me saying that and trying to be honest with yourself and being like, I do kind of take it personal, then this is your call, this reminder to kind of try and release that, to not take it personal when things don't go your way, because in one way or another, they're gonna end up going your way. I hope that makes sense, because you're just so adaptable, and you get this runner's high out of being adaptable. So even if something doesn't go your way, you get this like energy supply from having to overcome an obstacle that it really kind of like, I don't know, it feeds you in some way. Okay, I'm gonna get some archetype cards. We're going to get 2 cards that highlight some of your powers, and then we're going to get 1 card on what you need to release, what you should be letting go of more. So 2 cards for the powers of group 2. Give me one at a time, please. Powers. Let's highlight one of the powers of group 2. We have Child Divine. And then I love that. Look at open arms into the world. I love that. And then let's get another power from group 4, group 2, of group 2, whatever preposition. Artist. Ooh, yes. You are able to make art out of whatever materials you have, meaning it's a metaphor, but still it's like whether you have paint, whether you have clay, whether you have just old newspapers, you're able to create out of it. You're so adaptable. Let me tell you what this says. Innocence, purity, and redemption suggests a special connection with the divine. Absolutely. The divine is like, they love you. I can feel it. They're just like, that's our baby. They're like, that one's just for fun. Not that you are just for fun, but it's like there's just such a beauty in the way that you interact with the world, where the divine is just like, that's how it's supposed to be done. It just feels very natural and very embracing experiences. And that's why we're here. That's why we have an earthly experience, to embrace the journey. And then with the artist, it says, expressing a dimension of life that is just beyond the 5 senses, inspiring others to see life symbolically. I love that. I could definitely see somebody here being like a travel influencer or some sort. Somebody who just influences people through sharing their experiences. Beautiful. Okay, now give us an energy that group 2 needs to release, meaning something you need to let go of more in order to harness these powers. We have Prince. Interesting. The shadow attribute says using power for self-aggrandizement. Let me try and relate this. Okay, so a prince would be somebody who receives things because of birthright. A prince is someone who doesn't really get to experience real life. The light attribute says romantic charm and potential for power. The potential, the idea that you have to wait your turn, that's something you have to release. I'm just thinking of Prince Charles having to wait for ages and ages and ages and getting somewhat bitter, right? Having to release that waiting period of when you're stepping into power. That is something that you have to release. And not saying that that's something that's a huge issue for you, because I don't see you standing still. I don't see you being the waiting type. But if you are more so currently in like the lower part of this reading and this hasn't quite actualized yet, it will actualize. You are stepping into this power, but what we have to release is the idea of we're waiting for someone else to give us the authority to have these kinds of experiences. And that would be the idea of like, oh, I have to be educated, or I have to be knighted, right? I have to receive some kind of blessing from an outside source before I can start making experiences, which you don't have to. That's your natural divine right to go out and embrace the world. Okay, I'm gonna pull some more cards. I feel like there's something else that wants to come through with this Prince card, and I'm having a hard time getting it. The Prince card is what we should be releasing in order to harness these powers. I think, you know what? I think that also has to do with the idea of someone else being entitled to an easier life, or someone else like focusing on other people that are more entitled to something because of their natural position. So whether that is the idea of like, no, I can't do all that because I was born here, or I can't do all that because there's other people that are, like I can't be in front of a camera because there's other people that are prettier than me. That kind of idea. It's like, what? I think that's why I'm struggling with it so much in understanding this card, because there's something where you have someone else on a pedestal or other people on a pedestal, and I'm so confused because all your other energy is just so real. And then all of a sudden there's like this concept here where it's like this concept doesn't fit into how real you are. So that's something to release. Also, the idea of hierarchy, I think, is something to release. You might be intimidated by hierarchies. Although, again, I don't feel that coming through in the rest of the reading. But you might feel like you have to keep up with people. Going back to the idea of not feeling very intelligent. You are very intelligent. And so you might feel like there are other people that are more educated and therefore more worthy of success or attention, or especially because did I talk about job resume in this one, or was that, no, that was in the beginning, right, in the opener. Like you might feel like your resume doesn't compare well to others because of a certain lack of education, but your experiences are what makes you stand out. Okay, give me a card for group 2. Now this is going to be something to be aware of. No. Okay, fine. I shuffled these, but I asked for one card in group 1 as well, and I got 2 cards, and this one came out too, but it was a different second card, so I will take it. This card maybe just wants to come out for everyone, who knows. I am peaceful and I care for the earth. I was kind of picking that up with this world card already, the fact that it's right underneath that, the I care for the earth. I think, again, like there's just something about you where it's like your skills might not thrive in an academic setting, but they thrive in the real world, and they thrive in a place of understanding and caring for the interconnectedness of the world. I know this feels very specific, but I'm telling you, somebody here is either a travel influencer or a travel activist or a climate change activist, something of that sort, where it's like you are willingly fighting a battle that is very exhausting, but you wouldn't have it any other way. I am peaceful and I care for the earth. I'm just trying to pick up more here, because these cards to me speak more so about like, yes, you're powerful in this regard, but be aware that you need to embrace being peaceful and you need to embrace caring for the earth. So if you are some kind of travel influencer, and I know I'm keep going back to that, it's just a metaphor for those where this doesn't exactly apply. Take it as a metaphor, okay? But let's say you are a travel influencer. I care for the earth and I am peaceful has to do with having to understand the impact of you traveling to a place and advertising it. And especially influencers in general, like the idea of making a place out to be this destination, when you really have to engage with the local community and understand the history of a place, right? So I care for the earth reminds us to not just care about the experience, because we are very experienced focused in this group. So not just care about the experience for you, but the experience for others as well. And what your sharing of your experience leads to. And I am peaceful is about not disrupting anything. I also feel that some of you have like a documentarian kind of vibe. Like you document things in some form or another. But these cards are asking us to not disrupt whatever it is that we are documenting, especially because you are drawing inspiration from it. With this artist card, you are able to take in experiences and create from it. You kind of, it's like going out into the forest and picking up different things, you know, foraging and then creating something from it, which is a beautiful process. But we have to be very aware of where we are getting our resources from. And that's just something to be aware of. Let me try and simplify this for anyone who doesn't identify as an influencer that travels the world. When it comes to the experiences that you make, you are very much drawn towards creating certain obstacles for yourself to take yourself to the limit. Now, that is all extremely exciting for you, but for other people that can be very exhausting. And so you need to be able to have those kinds of experiences that really allow you to experience those highs and lows. But you have to be careful who you drag with you, because they might not be able to transmute the energy in the same way that you are able to. And as I say that, I really want to point out that some of you might be performers and actors because of this energy that is very experiential, and it's very much like exploring the world and exploring experiences can also happen on a stage or in front of a camera. So there's something where it's like very, you know, you're somewhat of a thrill seeker in some regard. It might be kind of, it might be very subconscious, but you do seek out certain situations. And so you need to be aware that not everybody is able to handle situations the way that you are able to. Okay, that's just something to be aware of. Now, oh my goodness, I got lost in there a little bit, didn't I? We're over time. Let's pull from this deck for group 2, any last insights or advice or considerations? What you got for us for group 2? Woo! Nourish. And at the bottom of the deck, we have the Lovers. Ah, interesting. Okay, so with Nourish, I'm feeling like, again, experiences nourish you. But you also can't just take in, right? You gotta transmute and put out. You have to transmute and put out, and that's why this artist card came up. You're very open to the world's experiences, but what are we doing with them? And that might be why you sometimes feel like this rush to be like, I need to do something that really gets me excited. I need to find, in the worst way, this can look like somebody constantly seeking conflict with people as a release of that rush. Right? That's the worst expression of this. The best expression of this would be to bring yourself to your own limitations, and then to come back to yourself to transmute that into something that you can share. Like I said, documenting something, creating something out of the experience, and that then kind of releases some of that creative energy, so you don't have to constantly like outdo yourself, but you can like experience and then come back to yourself, transmute, create, and then experience and come back to yourself, transmute, create. Because if you don't transmute the energy, then you just keep trying to find like a bigger high. You keep chasing more and more. Okay, we're going to get one last oracle card, and this one we're going to read from the booklet. One last card for group 2. We have Sleeping Beauty's Dream. Let me read this one. It is number 3. Soul journey, power of imagination, strength, inner strength. That's what it says. Let's focus. Okay, it says, we all know the story of Sleeping Beauty, who got pricked by a spindle and fell into a deep sleep. This card shows Sleeping Beauty asleep, her hair thick like thorns surrounding a castle. Imagine if your soul could wander while you sleep. What places and people would it visit? Envision what kind of journey you could have. Your soul is not tied to a certain place. It is able to tear down walls and scale a hedge of thorns. Like the bird Sleeping Beauty gently holds in her hand, your soul is ready to be freed and soar all the places in your dreams. See, and with this, I just want to point out that a lot of that energy that I feel you have to go out, again, go out, experience, and then transmute, because your soul wants to expand and it gets to expand. But the way that we're doing it right now, it feels like, or some of the unhealthy ways that we might engage with that, it feels like we have to physically move, we have to physically do things. And there's a lot of ways in which you can kind of reel back your energy and let your soul expand in a very creative way that gives you that same kind of high. I feel that strongly for you. A lot of this strength that you have can be applied in the real world, and it can be applied in a way that is very constructive, but it can also be applied in a way where you kind of exhaust yourself. But the key point here is that you are able to reach that same level of expansion with less energy expanded. When you use your creativity and understand that you are actually incredibly intelligent and incredibly creative. Okay? All right, group 2, I'm going to leave it there. I really hope that this resonated. I hope it was interesting. Thank you for hanging out with me. If you would like to book a personal reading, you can do so only through my website. It is linked in the description below. And I hope I get to read for you again sometime. Until then, take care. Hi, group 3. This is your reading if you chose this photograph, postcard of a lovely sidewalk. I just want to point out there is a stop, do not go sign. Very aware of that. And if you chose this aqua calcite, we're going to set these down over here and we're going to get right into your reading. So just a reminder, we are taking a look at your strengths and powers. So the way this is going to work is I'm going to pull 2 rows. The top row is going to be very much your strengths and your powers, and then the bottom row is kind of like where that came from, the roots of that, and it's going to kind of give us an idea of what to look out for as well, because raw strength is not, it's, you know, it can become destructive if we're not aware of how we use it. But let's talk about it. Let's get a reminder of the strengths for group 3. What are the strengths and powers of group 3? We have the star card. I'm a star. Okay. Love that. Let's get some context for group 3. The sun. Excuse me? Okay. Somebody come sign you because what? You're a star. The spotlight is on you. Okay. I mean, jokes aside, I do think you draw a lot of attention towards you, but I also think that you have a very nurturing and healing energy. You have very soothing energy. You make people feel understood and you make people feel seen. Three of Wands, and you're like, that's not enough. You're like, I want more. I want more. Oh my goodness. What? Of course you want more. You want. This is hilarious to me. I'm sorry, but it's very much like, oh, I'm such a sweet soul, and I gather a lot of attention. I want more. I want control. I love you, group 3. Oh, what is this? What the heck is this? 10 of Swords. Okay, you had to earn this. I get it. I get it. You had to earn this. You had to earn this vibe. This didn't come out of nowhere. You're probably incredibly skilled at healing because you had to learn how to heal yourself. And you're probably very skilled at making people feel seen because you never felt seen. And you are constantly in search of blank. Constantly in search of. And the Emperor. You are a... Whew, you're a creator, you're a builder. You're very controlled. I'm trying to tap into your energy and I'm having a hard time because it seems like you're very guarded. And you're very expectant in some regard. But again, we're talking about your strengths. You know when to take action. This is an incredible variety of energies because this is so... Your energy in general is very determined. But there's something here that is so delicate about you, and I think you're very aware of that, and because of that, we have this Emperor energy. There's this fierce energy of self-protection because you're aware of something within you that is very delicate. I'm getting like the imagery of a light bulb. And you know how, I mean, not nowadays, the LED light bulbs, but like the old tungsten light bulbs where if you shake it a little bit too much, there's that very, very delicate coil in the inside that can just break so easily. And yet it can provide so much light and so much energy, right? And there's something within you that is very, very delicate. And I'm not saying fragile. You're not fragile at all. Very clear. Message received. I get it. You're not fragile. But there is something within you that is very delicate. And it's exactly that delicate part that is the most illuminating to others. And it feels like you may have a tendency to take that for granted. Like it's almost like you're very aware of it and very protective of it. But the power of it, you feel like other people benefit from it. And there's this energy of like, what do I need to do for me to benefit from it? And that's why we have this 10 of Swords, because it's kind of like you probably have experienced people taking advantage of you in the past. And now you're at a point where you're like, no more. No more. Let's get some more. Let's get no more. And I'm like, let's get some more. Oh no. Tell me about the Star card. Let's go deeper is what I meant. Look at that. Yeah, you're a healer. You're a healer. And I think you've probably done a lot of healing for free in the past because you weren't aware that that's what you were doing. Tell me about the Sun card. Ooh, we have the World. Look at that. You are literally like a spotlight. What about this Three of Wands? Okay, I will take these. Wait, no, that's a whole stack. I will take the High Priestess, but not the Eight of Swords, because that was a whole stack that came out. I will shuffle and give it a chance to come out again if it wants to. But anyways, this High Priestess underneath the Three of Wands, that is your intuition telling you there is more. Because you're not just supposed to supply the people in your immediate surroundings. There is more. There is definitely something that you are supposed to take charge of. Tell me about this Emperor card. What's that? Nope. Nope. Can we get a very clear card for this Emperor, please? There we go. We have the Nine of Wands. The Nine of Wands has come out in every reading. My collective is very resilient. Look at Two of Swords at the bottom of the deck. Interesting. Two of Swords is like you're of two minds, because you understand the you understand your delicate nature, and you understand the necessity to protect it. Which is why you're of two minds. When you encounter or when you interact with people, you understand the necessity to be protective. And I do think that that comes from a place of you not having been honored in the past, meaning that there's definitely, with the High Priestess underneath the Three of Wands, there's something where you are leaving behind people that couldn't understand you. And you know that there are people out there that will understand you. You know that there is this feels like you were like, this is such an odd thing, but I'm seeing a group of people that are all, imagine they're not humans, right? Imagine this is like a cartoon, but there's a group of people that are all rough, like their skin is rough. And then you walk in and your skin is shiny. And because your skin is shiny, the sun and light reflect off of you, and everyone gets to enjoy that light being reflected off of you onto them. But you're looking around at all these people that are so dull and rough, and you're like, well, I'm not getting any benefits out of this. Like, nothing is reflected back to me. They are just taking from me. And now you understand that you might have to leave wherever you are, or comfort zones, in order to be able to create a space where other people that are like you can thrive. The Emperor wants to create. The Emperor wants to be in control of a space. Doesn't just want to, is divinely guided to. And with this Nine of Wands, it comes from a place of being ostracized from somewhere else. And it's like, you know what? I will find, if I have to go to the corners of the earth, I will find a place that I can create where everyone is valued the way that they should be. And I think that's really important, because this is a journey. So your strength lies in the journey of you recognizing the incredible healing and nurturing power that you have. And to not just give that away. Even if it is, you know, like like, yeah, you want to benefit other people, you want to help other people, but you can't do that for free. You have to do that in an environment where your gifts are honored. This reading is so much more serious than the others. It was a total energy shift because there's a very real desire to be taken serious. You want to be taken serious and not just seen as a commodity. But I do see that you have a beautiful energy. And it's like, because of that, I think you are just kind of hardened to it, because for you, it almost has been a liability. It's been a liability in the past because people have wanted to take advantage of you. And probably from a very young age, you may have wanted to appease people whenever they were like drawn to you and complimented you. It might be that you were very beautiful and it just became kind of a burden, and the attention may have became a burden. And so you hardened off to that because you're like, I don't want this attention. I don't want everyone constantly needing things from me. So I'd rather remove myself and create these walls and boundaries so I get to decide. This Two of Swords at the bottom of the deck is asking, what do you want to build? Because you're very intent on creating that space and building that space. But that Two of Swords is really asking, okay, but what are we going to do with it once we get there? Because you're going to get there. You're extremely determined. So you're going to create whatever space it is. And a space doesn't have to be a literal, you don't have to create your own kingdom, but it could be a platform. So whether that is gaining attention online, or it could be a job in which you have control over a certain arena of sorts, or it could be, you know, gaining some kind of influence over a certain area of interest. Okay, so then you're very determined to get there, but the Two of Swords is asking, okay, but once you're there, what are we doing with it? You're very energized. And that energy comes from a place of knowing that there is a place for you in this world. There is a place that is calling you. A place, again, it doesn't have to be a physical place, but that's the way it's coming through. Like there is it's like you're a puzzle piece, and you know that somewhere in the world, which is physical but also spiritual, meaning it doesn't have to be that you have to physically move, but somewhere in this world of puzzle pieces that already fit in some place, there is a gap. And you know that that gap is the shape of you. And so you're very determined to find that gap. This reading got so serious. Very interesting. Let's see. Okay, let's pull some archetype cards. So I'm going to pull 2 cards on your powers, and then we're going to pull 1 card on what to release and kind of let go of in order to harness your powers. Okay, for group 3, give me 1 card for a power that they have, something that they are in power of. No? Very deliberate, that's okay. Interesting. We have addict. Let me get 1 more. The light attribute here says helps you recognize and confront addictive behaviors. And look at how like forceful this person is at setting a boundary. Very much that. So again, you have a very healing energy, and it could be that people grow dependent on that, and that really irks you. And then you create these boundaries where you're like, no, you're just like siphoning off of me. Give me one more power for group 3. Oh, it's this one. We have engineer. And then let's get, that is again this desire to create, ability to give creative energy a practical expression, talent for designing resolutions to common dilemmas, which is something that the Emperor does naturally. Give me one aspect that group 3 should release in order to harness these powers. We have hedonist. Inspires creative energy to embrace the good things in life, celebrates the beauty in yourself. The shadow attribute pursues pleasure to the detriment of health, indulges at the expense of others. You supply a lot to people. Now, when a person is a source of energy to people, those people create a dependency on you. That does create some kind of exchange because there is still something that you're getting out of that, but it doesn't sustain you. But it might give you some kind of immediate gratitude or immediate gratification. And so when people are drawn to you at an like dependency level, you might get something out of it that feels good in the moment, but long-term wise, you never get what you need out of it. And so indulging in short-term gratification keeps you from embracing these powers that you have, which I think one of your powers is that you have a very addictive energy. You have a very addictive energy. And if you are able to use that energy in a way that is constructive, you could really build some kind of empire. But giving it out to people that cannot support or help you construct, it just feeds an immediate need. Now, what I also want to talk about here is, because it does come through, is if this has to do with some sort of love and relationship patterns, then I see you being a very nurturing, very giving person, and you're seeking commitment and you're not finding it because you keep on falling for these people that get really addicted to you, and they cannot provide you what it is that you're providing them. And so that puts you into the active role, and that puts you in a position where you have to be the person that administers the addictive energy, but that also means that you're the one that has to pull back the addictive energy, right? The shadow attribute for addict says compromises integrity and honesty, allows an addictive pattern to have authority over your inner spirit. One of your powers, one of your strengths is that your energy is extremely nourishing. It gives people so much. And that's an incredible power to have that comes with an incredible amount of responsibility. And if you just give in to your natural urges, you might misplace misplace that kind of power, or you might not recognize that the power actually lies within you. And so that's why this engineer power is really important, because again, it says ability to give creative energy a practical expression, talent for designing resolutions to common dilemmas. The engineer aspect zooms out a little bit and takes a look at, where am I giving my energy? It's kind of like budgeting. It's like budgeting your energy. Where am I expending too much, not getting enough in return? You are a drug dealer of sorts, and the drug is your energy. Now, drug dealers do not just give drugs away, right? First of all, drug dealers also know that they do not need to be getting high off of their own supply. And money talks. Like, there's a lot of ways that this metaphor actually does work. But so that's why this Two of Swords comes up, because it's like, okay, are you aware? Are you aware of this power? It's fascinating. Okay, I'm going to pull from this deck, and this deck is going to tell us kind of something that we need to be careful about, something that we need to be aware of, which with this Two of Swords already came through. But let's see what else comes out. For group 3, we have I speak with sincerity. Every other group got 2 cards of this because they just happened to come out. So I'm going to pull one more for you. Oops. We have I advance through my own abilities. Exactly that. You have to understand that this is you are the source. You are the source. I advance through my own abilities, and I speak with sincerity. Now, this is not to say that you have issues doing these things. This is just to say that with those powers comes this responsibility, that you have to know when to say stop and when to say go. And I speak with sincerity also points out the fact that you have to understand when boundaries need to be set by you, because I feel like you have the kind of energy that people will just take and take as long as they can. So it is important that you speak on your boundaries, because if you don't, that siphoning keeps occurring, right? And that's why we have this Emperor card, because you are very firm on your boundaries. So it is something that you have a natural proclivity to. But I do want to say that if you are not fully in this energy yet, if you find yourself more so in the bottom energy, this is something that we're working towards, right? In implementing your strength. I said this in group 1 too, like your strength doesn't just come out of nowhere. It's something that you build up to, just the way that you do strength training at the gym, right? You got to build muscle. And so if you don't find yourself here yet, that doesn't mean that you don't have that strength. It just means that you haven't quite grown into that strength yet. But it is definitely present. And as you grow into that strength, as you harness that strength, it is important that you are aware of your impact on people, because you are very impactful, which means that you also have, because you have this addicting energy, I could definitely see you being able to influence people. And that is something that you need to be aware of. Again, with the Two of Swords, like I keep coming back to that for some reason, because it feels like, honestly, this Two of Swords kind of is connecting. My head was turned and I had to look at that stop sign, because the stop, it's not saying like stop, don't ever proceed. It's take a moment and make sure, right? I mean, traffic light in general is like, wait until you're allowed to go, but still it's more so like in this metaphor, like take a moment and take in your surroundings and understand where you're at, understand what is happening. And so this isn't an energy of like stop and pull back your energy completely, but be aware of your impact and how you can use it in a way that is responsible. I'm sorry, I think you are such a drug to some people. You are so addictive to people. And it can be frustrating because it's like you don't set out to be that way. You don't set out to provide people with something. You're just existing. You're just living. You're just like, I'm just being me. And people are just like getting high off of it. Wow. All right, let's get you some oracle cards from this deck. Any last advice or considerations for group 3? Whoa. I'm going to take both of these. We have rise up and rebirth. I like rebirth because I think what it is that you're growing towards is the integration of that delicate aspect of you, which is very addicting, and the very firm protective energy, which has a lot to do with temperance, right? Combining two energies in a way that is healthy and tempered. And so this rebirth, I think, has a lot to do with the moment in which you recognize your power and recognize where you've given too much of your power away for free. And rise up has a lot to do with overcoming that. Look at the yellows here. I advance through my own abilities. Yeah. Once you bring that into balance, you're able to really kind of use that for your advantage without taking advantage of people. Look at the feather up here and the feather down here. I want to say that again. Once you understand that balance, you are able to take advantage of your power without taking advantage of people. You may have in the past even resented when people become addicted to you, when people become dependent on you. I think I definitely said that earlier, but still I feel the need to highlight that again. You may have become resentful of that because it just feels icky. And it feels icky because you were not receiving that same high that they were receiving from your energy, from whatever it is that you were giving, right? And I just want to say energy is a very broad term that I'm using. But that can be so many things. That can be the way that you make people feel when you talk to them, when you communicate with them. That can be the way that you look. That can be your aura. That can be the skills that you have, the way you communicate. I already said that, sorry. The way that you just interact with people. Like there's just something about you that is very, it makes people feel seen. And it makes people feel like you are a spotlight, but it centers them. It constantly centers them in your interactions. And so the balance that we're trying to create here is you being able to center your ability to center others. Very, very interesting. Which also means being able to create a resource out of that. So becoming a professional healer, becoming a psychologist, right? Someone, instead of being the therapist friend, creating an environment where your skills are honored in a way that you receive something in return. But again, I also see that a lot of people here would be able to create some sort of community. But it's not just a community that is just hanging by your every word, but it's a community that wants to support and uplift you because they can tell what a guiding light you are. Wow. Okay, now I'm going to pull one last oracle card, and this one we're going to read from the booklet. So for group 3, I have like a little pressure in my head now after your reading. Your reading was a lot more intense than the other ones. like very firm and frustrated in a way. Like it feels like you're very frustrated because I think you're struggling and understanding how to really take advantage of your power. Give me one last card for group 3. Protective nest. Yeah, that's exactly this Emperor energy where you're just like very fiercely protective of something that is very delicate, right? Look, I opened it right to, well, it's in the middle of the booklet. It's not that, not that, never mind, ignore me. So this card says protective nest, nurture, motherhood, protector, incubation. Belying her serene expression, this woman is hatching more than just creative thoughts. She is a mother, creator of all. The giant bird's nest on her head holds 3 eggs and an older bird, already born into the world. Under her skirt, there is a glimpse of a large egg. This card symbolizes motherhood, protection of children, and how children develop under a mother's care. Be aware of how your actions or words can affect a fledgling soul. Oh my God. Okay, I love that we had the Emperor instead of the Empress. It doesn't matter what your gender is. Because the Empress would have been a lot more like, yeah, I'm ready, I'm giving, I'm giving, I'm giving, I'm giving. The Emperor is like, no, I'm setting a boundary. And yet a lot of your energy is already so giving, right? And so this card is really talking about having to understand, this whole reading has been about the fact that your energy is very nurturing, right? It's very giving. And so this is having to understand when and how to give and when to protect and be a fierce mother, which is why I love that the Emperor came out. Absolutely. This is about understanding that your energy, whatever it is that you put out, whatever the skill is, this healing, this incredible attention that you're able to give, right? This card doesn't have to be about children. It's anything that you create and put out into the world. And so that very healing and nurturing energy that you have is your creative energy. And it deserves to be honored and protected and not just given away for free. Okay? All right, I'm gonna leave it there. Thank you so much for hanging out. I really hope that this resonates, that it made sense, and that it's, you know, that it does something in your brain. That's all I hope. If you would like to book a personal reading, you can do so on my website. It is linked in the description. I'm gonna leave it there. Thank you so much, and I hope I get to read for you again sometime. Until then, take care.